Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Live Your Spa Life show. Spa life is a lifestyle that accepts that accomplishment and harmony coexist. The spa and spa life, the SPA, is for seek power always. That power within you to do your greater work in the world. I am so thrilled to have a dear friend and special guest today, Ingrid Elfver, who is the founder of Born Celebrity. She is a consulting company in Beverly Hills, California that provides brand strategy for conscious celebrities. We're going to be talking a lot about that. Conscious celebrities, companies, and high-profile individuals who want to grow, protect, and love their brand. Ingrid, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's such an honor. I am so excited to be here, beautiful one. You are so amazing and such an inspiration always. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. I cannot wait for our audience to get to know you better because you're a bit of a celebrity yourself. You have been interviewed by major media outlets from Entertainment Tonight to In Touch Weekly, and you've also been recognized by the Beverly Hills Chamber of Commerce and the Mayor of Los Angeles for your leadership and accomplishment. Can you talk a little bit how you've been, in the forefront being a celebrity yourself and how that has actually helped you with people becoming their own celebrity? And I'd like you actually to define a little bit about what that actually means to you, because it's a much more conscious, higher level than people may think of a celebrity as being.
Well, to me, being a celebrity is someone who's shining their light, right? Their authenticity is being really unafraid to be bold, be out there and share their work or whatever they do, right? So for me, even though I live here in Beverly Hills and I see a lot of very famous people, to me, it's not about that. It's about the person and who they are, and that they allow themselves to keep growing and being more powerful. That's very important. So for me, it's shining your light. And I don't think that can be bad for anyone, but I think that the word celebrity can have so much negativity to it, even with celebrities. They don't like calling themselves celebrities. But for me, Born Celebrity, when I created that name and created the business, it was born on the things that I've done already, and trying to help people get more used to the idea that you can go bigger and bolder, and it's okay. You don't have to be cruel or mean or use your power the wrong way.
Right. I really appreciate that distinction, because you're right, especially, in the media now and a lot of things we're hearing, there isn't always a positive feeling to the word celebrity. And how do you think that word can be, how that can evolve so it can actually have people step into the true meaning of what that was to be as far as being in your life? How do you think that shift in consciousness can happen of how people typically see the word celebrity to the intended meaning of what you're trying to bring it up to?
Well, I think that being seen is part of being an entrepreneur. We all have to be seen. And I think a lot of us have issues with that or feel resistance to it. So instead of thinking of you becoming famous or becoming a celebrity, it's more that you're stepping up into your power and you're letting people see you. And when you're letting people see you, then people can then get to know what you do and they can hire you, and you can also expand your brand reach in a much bigger way. So if you think of it that way, and I mean, the people I've had the honor to work with who are very famous, they are super kind, very conscious, very philanthropic. I mean, they make me aspire to be better. So, but you then, I mean, not everyone is like that, but if you have that aspiration in yourself that you're going to put yourself and your brand out there, then it's okay to say that I'm going to allow myself to become more known, right? Taking off the stigma of celebrity or famous, but just allow yourself to be more known.
Right. Well, and the more known that you are, the more influence that you can have and the more people that you can support and help. So I love this encouragement that you are doing for people to be their best and brightest self, to be more out there. And speaking of being honored, actually about the time that we met, you had a wonderful honor about being part of the Phenomenal Women Award, that event that we were at, where it was co-hosted by Kathy Ireland. And I just want to make sure, just the example, because I love the words that were tied to this honor, where it talked about you being an example of being powerful, inspired, brilliant, visionary, and bold, as well as you being on the list of the top 10 of Twitter feeds for inspiration, along with Tony Robbins, Russell Simmons, and Paulo Coelho. And, you know, the word that keeps coming in and around to describe you is inspiration and being inspired. And I'd love to know what actually inspires you.
So my biggest inspiration is to sit in meditation every morning and listen to my inner, and to listen to infinite intelligence, whatever you want to call that. I don't know, it brings me, I always become so joyful tuning in to my inner, because I think that all of us are so powerful. And the more we can listen to that part, that inner voice, that true sense of who we are, the more we can share that into the world. And I think there's so much information that we have inside that maybe we're not tuning into or listening to. And I think that part is so important to incorporate into your brand, into your business, and making sure that you are also tuning in and listening to yes or no, or and being more who you are versus what you think you should be.
Yes, absolutely. And I
so
think there's
meditation is my thing. And laughing all throughout the day, no matter how hard, is also important to have a lot of fun.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's one of the things I always appreciate being with you, is we have lots of laughter. And I think being in that place of joy is such a huge thing. And, you know, I love you're talking about meditation, because, you know, I think that there is a very distinct difference between knowledge, all the things being thrown at us all the time, versus knowing, like, what is happening within us. How is it with all the distractions? And, you know, there's so much, especially now, it feels that they're very loud right now that's happening. How is it that you really kind of tune that out, and really go within and not be distracted? How is it that you really tune in and that you're able to have discernment around what messages are for you and the directions that you take?
Well, I'm very conscious of the energy that I either put out or that I take in, because to me, to be at my highest service, I have to be selective. I have to be selective who I work with. You have to make sure you work with the right people, right? That they honor you, they love you, they feel that incredible frequency from you, and you feel the same about them. So with social media and all this craziness, especially when it got crazy, I then will tune in more and get more quiet, because it kind of, the world needs it. We need all of us to sit there for a moment and be still and feel, all right, things will be okay, right? Because if the more fear goes out in the universe and in the world, the harder it gets, and it gets harder to function as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. It's harder to know what to do next. And if so, you have to tune in and listen, so you're doing the right things for your business and yourself and your brand. And instead of just running around trying to, I don't know, be caught up in the drama, as I say. I don't care for that much drama, period. I keep it out of my life, and I keep people who are drama out of, you know, I don't have them around me. And that might seem like a privilege, but I can't work otherwise. I can't be a service to the clients I work with.
Right. Well, I think it's so important to protect your boundaries and to know what you need in order to have your best energy and to be able to show up more powerfully. And, you know, a lot of people may not know, with, you know, prior to Born Celebrity, that you were a model, and on many different fronts, from appearing in print and commercials, music videos, runway, and even billboards on Sunset Boulevard. You know, there's so much exposure that was out there, even traveling, being part of promoting Miss Europe. I mean, there's so much exposure that you've had. How is it throughout the years of being so on display and out there and just being seen on such a big level? How have you been able to stay grounded in all of that process?
Well, to me, I don't know if I quite see it that way. That was part of my job, you know, being a model. It's part of your job of being out there. And you usually, when you take the pictures, you know, you're not on display that way. You're just in front of a photographer, right? So you don't think of it that way. Commercials were fun. There were commercials that ran in Japan and in places that I didn't know. But I mean, it's about, if you don't stay genuine and authentic within yourself, it's easy to get lost. You have to know who you are. And part of that, when you do become more known with your brand and you, it's that you have to have that groundedness, and you need people to help you stay grounded and create your business and brand the way that you want. And it's on your terms. You don't have to be out there every second. And especially right now, none of us can be out there that much. So then we have to find other ways to be seen. So.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I feel like you're this great example of this perfect combination of science and art and beauty and brains. A lot of people don't realize that you have degrees in economics and art, and you are a serial entrepreneur where you have you're so creative. Like, you've created leather products that have been sold in stores, you know, outlets like Fred Siegel, as well as you've exhibited your own original art in paintings and sculptures. Have you been trained in these artistic ways? Is this part of
I went to art school. My mom is an artist. So when I started art too and have a talent. And I remember I was 11 years old when I went to life drawing classes in Stockholm, Sweden. I lived a little bit outside Stockholm, in a suburb right there. So I took the train by myself with my huge drawing board, a pad, and went in there, and there were only grown-ups and me, 11 years old, doing life drawing. And it was so fun. And so art has always been part of my expression. And I sculpt, I paint, I do edging, all kinds of different forms of art. But then for a while, I just started focusing more on my entrepreneurial business and coaching. And but during this epidemic, I've been actually starting art again, which is really interesting. It's like I never stopped. I've just gotten better, which is crazy because I haven't done art in 10 years. So
I think it's just in you.
Maybe I was painting or drawing in my head. You know, I've been thinking about that because I could have visions of it. And so it's good to do different things, not just do one thing in your job or work.
Right.
Not that I think I have a job, by the way. I think I'm very lucky. You probably don't think you have a job either the same way, right? So
no.
I feel like every day I wake up.
I get to talk with my friends.
Right, that's what I feel like. I have to pinch myself that what a beautiful life I've created, right?
Absolutely. So what is your favorite form of art that you're doing these days?
Well, right now I'm just drawing. So I'm doing this card deck series that's going to be interesting, that I had as an idea. So I started drawing different pictures that are going to be part of a card deck that is inspirational. So
yeah, how fun. Well, you know, people may not know as well that you came here from Stockholm when you were just 18 years old, and it almost feels like a part of a movie script where you moved into Beverly Hills. And I'd love for you to talk about a couple of your famous neighbors, because I always think of Beverly Hills where the homes are so spread out that you don't really get to connect with your neighbors. So you don't really get to know them. What was your experience moving into that neighborhood and those neighbors?
Well, I mean, coming to Well, coming to LA was like coming home for me. I don't know why, but energetically, it was amazing. It felt like, I don't know, I felt like, wow, I could finally be me. Because Sweden and Stockholm at the time was very socialistic Democrat. So it's a little more conservative in the sense of if you are unique, people don't like that. So here,
you must
people
have really
love
stood
you.
out.
Just a tad. I was really bullied, really, really bullied, and didn't have
Wow.
the easiest childhood because of that. And
Mm.
but that's, you know, and I really stood out, and that's partly why I started modeling in Sweden. Was that was one of the only outlets that I could start feeling who I was, right? And yeah, coming to Beverly Hills and then seeing everybody and having great neighbors. At the time, it was Burt Reynolds and Rod Stewart was right next door. And, you know, and just a really crazy thing, I went to the Playboy Mansion for first New Year's Eve, and I didn't even know what the Playboy was.
I
So that
bet.
was a very interesting New Year's Eve. Let's just say
Eye-opening,
that
sure.
was kind of shocking, but it was so fun to meet Hugh Hefner and his wife Dan, and it was, you know, it's being thrown into a world that is, it's just different. And then figuring out what are you going to do with that, and how are you going to be, and how are you going to relate to it. So
Mm, right. Well, I'm sure also just kind of that being thrown into that world is you probably also were able to get really clear on what things were maybe superficial versus what was genuine, what was how you were going to choose to be yourself. How did being in that world really shape who you became as a person?
well, what's interesting is that, you know, at first so many judgments about celebrities, to be honest. Thought, oh, well, they're like that because I read it somewhere, or you know what I mean. We
Right.
have all these misconceptions, and probably my most awakening moments was meeting a lot of them, and them being so kind, so bit generous, and so deep. Now, not everybody, but
Right.
on the most part, most people who have achieved success on that level have worked very hard for that and are often truly amazing people that accomplished incredible things. So I had to take down my judgments and be more open and be more relaxed around it as well, and be okay with, you know what I mean? It's learning how to see people truly and not see it through a filter of judgment. So
Right, right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that helps us in everyday life is to be, really clear. And I think also when you do things like meditation and you get clear with messages and things that you receive, you become more clear, I think, around the people around you and to not have some of those snap decisions and to actually be able to make decisions for yourself about who people are and to just have that as a foundation of how you operate in the world. So I think that's beautiful to do that. And uh, I'd like to just also look at, branding, right? So branding is an aspect of your business and what you do. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what branding is. And I'd love for you to kind of talk a little bit about that and why people actually need branding to be successful in their business.
well, I think most people think a brand is just a logo or a tagline, right? Or business name, tagline, and a logo, and that's it. But to me, branding is more about who, if let's say we're talking about a personal brand, right? Which is a personality driven brand, that means, you know, an entrepreneur needing to communicate what they do, right? So you're creating a brand that way. Well, who you are has to be completely reflected on every part of your business and of on that website or in your marketing messages or who you are. And most of us, we can't see ourselves, so we need someone who can actually ask us a lot of questions, start having us dig deep into what are we really, figuring out what is our true value, right? I always try to figure out what the highest value of my client is, because a lot of times we can't see that for ourselves. We think, oh, well, that I do all the time, that's not that valuable. And sometimes that can be the golden nugget that ends up being the biggest part of your brand, right? So for me, it's so many different things. So I ask a lot of questions. I try to figure out who the person is. I try to figure out what their business is. I try to figure out and see where they want to go, because that would also be different for different people. Some people don't want to go that big, right? So then you have to think about, well, what are the things that you do want to do? But brand is something one should revisit every year. You need to ask yourself, what am I? What's unique about me? How do I differentiate? Well, who is my target market that I really want to work with, that I actually love, right? How can I make my website work harder, be more of a workhorse where SEO and different parts underneath, that it works in a way that it gives you an effortless way to have more clients. The harder your brand can work for you without you having to work, it's very powerful. So a brand should really be a representation of you correctly. And a lot of times that's not always communicated right, or we bring the wrong thing in the forefront, which is not actually what people see about you or want from you, but you think they want that. So then it becomes a little bit of a miscommunication, right? So I try to fix all those miscommunications and just make it clear, straight, and powerful, and where it works with everything, right? There's sales funnels, there's a connection to everything that you do, so you can work less that way. You don't have to work harder.
And what I'm hearing is that, having some continuity, like that what you're putting out there is actually in alignment with who you are and who you want to show up as. And I look at this as like a branding mentor, right? Someone who is really showing you, just like you would have a mentor in any aspect of your life, they see things that you don't see. And I think sometimes what I'm hearing is things that I think we take as like, oh, well, that's easy because that's just what I do. They may not see that as some of your foundational ways of how you actually help people and how you show up. And you may miss it if you're looking at it yourself to be able to do that. And it reminds me of, I remember early on when we connected, there was an aspect of your business that you were shutting down, that you were no longer doing anymore. And I so appreciated that clarity and that boundary that you had, that even though, yes, you could have had clients out of that part, it no longer represented who you wanted to be and who you wanted to serve. And I have rarely seen that kind of clarity where people were just like, you know what, this is no longer who I serve or what I'm doing. And I just thought that was such a beautiful and graceful way to evolve into the next level of service. So I recognize that in you. Thank
you. Yeah, I think it's important to create a business on your own terms. It's your business. It's your brand. You're the one in charge. So what do you want? And I think and I believe that's so important part of a brand too, is you've got to know who you are and then create it the way you need it.
Right, absolutely.
So if you want to sleep to noon, then you can sleep to noon. I don't know.
But we can work around that. Yeah. Oh, that's so good. It's funny when I ask guests like what time that they want to be on the show. I mean, sometimes we only have, one or two slots available, but I always find interesting the different times that people gear towards, because that's where their energy is and that's where their time is in most cases. So it's fun to see that when we get to have that choice, how it can really work for us. So that's a good thing. So one of the other things I love to ask is that, I love to show the journey that people have, that there are times in, life and entrepreneurial journey where we can feel a little bit disempowered or off track. And I'd love for you to share a time where that has happened for you and how you came into your power, how you, kind of righted the road, if you will, for any type of circumstances that helped you along the way. Because I believe we actually learn from our own experiences when we're conscious and we recognize them. Where have you seen that in your journey?
I feel, well, when I say I'm a serial entrepreneur, the truth is that I found different things that I needed to do at the time and then kept changing. And now probably my work hasn't changed at all in a lot of ways, but probably the format of it or how I express it. And I think my hardest journey was when in 2002, I was told I was going deaf, blind, and spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair. So I spent 2 years in a dark room alone because I had acute vertigo, and I couldn't really look at anything or be in light. So it helps you sort of get to know yourself. And what it helped me truly was to see how many negative thoughts one person can have towards oneself when you're sick, right? And how hard you can be. And so I started working on that. And I still feel like I'm in a work in progress. I don't know if I'm ever going to feel like I've arrived, because I'm constantly learning how to be better or how to be kinder towards myself, or to be more present, to be more in my joy, right? I think that's a daily process. So I never feel like I'm going to arrive. I feel like I'm always going to be learning. And I love being a life student. I love being a student of my soul, my heart, my vision, my potential. I get excited every day because I know I haven't even touched it yet, right? There's always a way to go bigger, bolder, and be more who you are in a much more powerful way. So, but struggles, I mean, illness, that took me 8 years before I could drive a car again. And I wrote books during the time. I did thousands and thousands of pieces of art that I illustrated. I created a product line. I did all these things that I could do, right? So sometimes I think that when we feel like we're getting off path, I actually think that that's truly not an off path. I think that when we feel detoured or we're faced with a challenge, just honor it and see if you can meet and then discover something more powerful about it and yourself. So
yeah, I think that applies even more today than ever, where people, look at what's happening out in the world and feel like, life has stopped. However, when you look at how is this happening for me, how is this actually part of my path, and what can I shift or change, or what do I need to look at differently? I love that perspective, because we don't plan for those types of things, but when you have it presented in front of you, you can actually shift and change what that looks like. Which reminds me, one of the things I always love to ask my guests, you've had a lot more time than average to be in your home space and to be enjoying that space. And I believe that our environments have great impact on us. And we have different experiences in our bedroom versus our kitchen or our office. So what is your favorite room in your home and why?
Well, it's going to sound really weird. I got a Pilates reformer for a training studio in one of my rooms here. So I have a Pilates reformer, and we got that right before everything shut down. So a few days before everything shut down, all the deliveries and everything. So I now have a Pilates reformer where I can work out. I feel so joyful there. I love my bedroom. I love my office. I mean, my whole house is beautiful, literally everywhere. But what I love about the Pilates reformer and in there is that I get to expand myself and work on my physical body, because I think it's so important to also keep moving. And especially since we've been in lockdown here, I haven't been really outside, right? So without that, without other gym equipment, I wouldn't be able to keep fit in my mental part, right? Yes. So right now, I would say my Pilates studio.
I love it. I love that. It's so funny. At the beginning of the year, I was thinking I really want to do some more reformer work, because it's such a focus on your core. And there's something about when you are, I don't know if I want to say like firm or tone in your core. I believe it affects how you stand, your being and your presence. I just think it's such an elegant way to support your body. So of course you have one of those. I love that.
I'm very fortunate because they're in an investment, but what better investment can you do than to yourself? So
definitely, I wholeheartedly agree on that. So we could be talking all afternoon, and I know that our listeners are going to want to stay in contact with you. How can they do that?
So they can go to ingridelfver.com. Should I spell it out, or will you put that on the screen?
We will have it. You can go ahead and spell it out so those who are listening driving, they can get that, but it will also be in the show notes. So it's kind of good for people to hear it in a couple different ways.
So go to ingridelfver.com, INGRIDELF as in Frederick, V as in Victor, ER.com. Or you can go to my other website, which is Born Celebrity, BORNCELEBRITY.com. I hope I got that right. But those two, you can kind of become familiar more with me, and you can sign up there and join my mailing list. And there's also ways to get an introductory session with me if you want, that a discover call where we talk more about the brand, and I'll take a look at your brand and figure that out. But it just be an honor to be here, and thank you so much, beautiful one. I'm just so appreciative of your energy, Diana. You're so special and so unique. I'm so happy that you're well and that you're shining your light, because I think that the world needs so much of you. Truly, every part of you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate that. And it's one of the reasons why I do the show, is so that more light can get into the world. And your light is very bright, and we so appreciate your time and your wisdom, and being here is so appreciated. And to our listeners and our guests out there, I mean, we couldn't be doing this without you and your energy and sharing it out in the world. It's so important to have positive messages and things that get out in the world, and by you spreading it, that's what helps us. So please subscribe, please put your comments. If you have any questions for either myself or Ingrid, please tag both of us. We're happy to answer any questions that you have and to support you in any way that we can as well. So until we connect again, live your spa life. Bye for now. Bye-bye.